All right, so making an AI assistant in VoiceFlow is powerful, right? We can upload knowledge base and talk to our internal documents and yada, yada, yada. And that's great. But the real power of these AI assistants from VoiceFlow is the ability to call third-party APIs and send and retrieve data. So in this example, we're going to go through a weather bot in order to hit a GET request from an external API. Let's get into it. So the API that we're going to use is on a website called Rapid API, which has some free APIs that developers can use just to test things. So if we go to weatherapi.com, it's going to have a lot of information that we can pull from it here. If we test this endpoint, it's going to come back with JSON object here, and we can see these different name and value pairs, name, location, current weather, wind. So this is the API that we're going to use to pull weather information into our chatbot. So if we go back to VoiceFlow here to your dashboard, we're going to create a new assistant, weather demo bot. Modality is chat, language is English. We're going to create our assistant here. And even though VoiceFlow offers this starting template to us, we're going to delete all of this and start fresh. So the first thing I want to do is have a welcome message. And for our text reply here, hello, I'm a weather bot. Or would you like to know the current weather? Question mark. Okay, so now we're going to capture the response from the user, because obviously the user is going to ask a question on where they would like to know the weather. So we come to capture, and we're going to capture the entire user reply into a new variable, which I'm going to call weather question. We hit this plus sign, that makes it a new variable here. And the reason that I don't want to just do last utterance is I want to be able to uniquely call this variable later on down the line in this conversational design. So I always, as good practice, like to let the user know that we understand your request, and also to test out this variable really quickly to see if it works. So we're going to call this block acceptance message. And say, great. I will find the current weather for the following location. And then we do our weather question variable here. Perfect. And we can test this out really quick by hitting the start button. Hello, I'm WeatherBot. Where would you like to know the current weather? Let's say Austin, Texas. Great. I will find the current weather for the following location, Austin, Texas. Okay, there we go. So this is working. So if we come back to the designer, now we can hit our API. So we're going to go to dev and API. You'll notice there's a drop-down list here that has the different API requests: get, post, put, delete, and patch. For this video, we're going to do a GET request because we're going to retrieve the weather information from Rapid AI weather.com. So if we look here, there's a few things that we need in order to retrieve this information. And the first is the URL of the API itself. Then we have headers, we have parameters, and we have capture response. Okay, and I'm going to go through these one at a time as we look at this API. So if we go to our weather API here, there's a few things that should look familiar to us. Request URL. Okay, remember we needed a URL. Header parameters and required parameters. Okay, so the URL is the URL base that we need to ping, and then the header parameters are going to be keys that allow you to talk to this URL. Okay, and then the required parameters is actually going to be our input into the API. And if we read the required parameters here, It says Q, query parameter based on which data is sent back. It could be the following: latitude and longitude, a city name, a zip code. So it's great that this API allows us some flexibility in the type of location that we retrieve from our bot, because it makes our weather bot a little bit more useful. So let's go back to our URL. Okay, request URL is rapidapi.com. Rapidapi.com. Our header, okay, this is a Rapid API key. Now, in order to use this and get this key, you have to create your own personal account, which is free through Rapid API. And this string here is my unique key, which I will make sure and turn off after making this video. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this right into here. Actually, that is the value. It's the key. And we need to copy this x-rapid API key, and that's going to be the parameter. And then remember we have two headers here. So we have key and we have host. So we have to click this plus button on headers, which will give us another parameter key value pair. So now to do the second one, which is x-rapid API host, and then the value, which is going to be this weather API-com, the p rapid, which I'm going to pull over here from this code snippet. Boom. All right. Now moving down to parameters here. Required parameters is Q. So this is what we put in the parameters key is Q. Now for this value, you'll see the example that they have is this latitude longitude pair. Now that the value that we want to pass along to the API is our variable weather question that we set earlier, which is why I made that a unique variable. So we can do weather question, and here we go. So we have our URL, we have our headers, and then we have our parameters here. Now capture response. So what happens in VoiceFlow's backend when you call this API and you get this JSON object? Looking at the VoiceFlow docs, okay, the way to do this is you're going to get a response, which is saved into a variable that you set here. And all of these responses have to start with the word response, dot, and then you're going to call different key value pairs based on your JSON object. And I'm going to walk through this step by step here. So if we go and test this endpoint here, we're going to see that the keys that come up are location and current. Okay. So in order for me to get the name of the city that I call with this API, okay, I need this to be location dot name. And then the value of that will be Boston. If I want the country, it would be location dot country. And this would be the UK, okay? So, or whatever this value is from this name here, we would have to do location dot name. So it would look like this, location dot name. And that would give us the value Boston, or in our previous response, or our previous example would be Austin, okay? Austin, Texas. So in order to make this a little bit more friendly, because as you can see, this API call has a lot of different conditions and things that we can access, I want to make a blanket object here that we can call individually later. So I'm going to leave this as response.location, and I'm going to apply this to a new variable, which is going to be weather underscore location. Plus sign creates this. But I also want to just do, in addition to location here, I want to hit all of the current as well, because this is where our actual daily weather is going to show up here. So we're going to do response.current and apply this to a new variable called weather underscore current, new variable. All right, in the bottom right-hand corner, we can test this endpoint to make sure that our URLs and headers and everything is all set up correctly. So when we hit send request here, I can force a example into weather question in order to hit this API to see what the response is going to be. So let's do, again, Austin, Texas, generate. Oh, that was a little bit of a bug. Let's try that again. Okay, we get an error code, error 200. Okay, so why did we get this error code here? And this is kind of a gotcha from Rapid API. If we go back here to our URL, it says rapidapi.com. That's what I typed in. If we go to our code snippet here, you'll see that the URL is a little bit more intricate. Okay, Weather API -com rapid.com/current.json. So if I change this URL to what it actually says in the code snippet and then generate, boom. Okay, we have a JSON object, location, Austin, Texas, latitude, longitude, and I get this information. So our test of this API, this GET request, works. So let's try this with our bot now. And the way we can do this, if it's a success, let's go ahead and output weather location and weather current. Austin, Texas. So it says the API call was successfully triggered. Okay, so we have two things. We get a 0, and then we get object. Okay, so why did that happen? So in order to, in VoiceFlow, it will not output the entire object. Okay, you have to get specific here with this variable name. So in order to do this, we're going to change weather location. We're going to set a variable coming out of this block here. Success, we're going to go to a set. And this is going to be weather results setting of variables. I can spell, I promise. Okay, apply to select variable. So we're going to make a bunch of new variables based on the information we want to display to the user here. So I can do weather name, or let's do city. Weather city. And this value is going to be weather location dot name. So if we remember, we go back to our API here in the results, okay? VoiceFlow requires you to have results dot, and then whatever the value key that you're calling. So it's results dot location dot name. And we have results dot location already saved into a variable. So if we do weather location dot name, this should work. Okay, and we're going to test this by calling weather name, weather city. Orlando, Florida. Undefined. Why did that not work? Guess it would help if I spelled response right for this response location. I should have known that when it came back with a 0 in the previous object. All right, let's try that again. Good old troubleshooting mid-video. API call success, Orlando. Okay, perfect. So if we go back to our JSON object here, we also have country, which will also be, so we can do region and country here. So if we go back to our set variables here, we can just keep adding additional variables to set each one of these that we want. So we can do weather state, pull weather location dot region, I believe it was. That is correct. And then we can do weather country. That's weather location dot country. So let's test these, which is weather state and weather country here. Let's see what happens if we just type in Orlando. There we go. Orlando, Florida, United States of America. So this is us successfully parsing through this JSON object and setting variables and calling it later. So let's get some actual weather statistics for this bot and format this a little bit better. So if we go through our JSON object of information we might want, so instead of in location, we're going to go to current here, which we get the temperature in Fahrenheit, we get the wind in miles per hour, we get humidity, that's a good one, and then precipitation in inches is also one that I'd want to pick up. Also, if I click down on this condition, which is a nested key in here, we also get a text, which is partly cloudy, and an icon, which is going to be a picture, which we'll set this up here in a second. But let's go through some of these and format this out to be a nice looking bot. So if I come back to the setting of variables, so in addition to weather state, weather country, I want to make a new one, which is going to be weather temperature. Instead of weather location, it's going to be weather current, and I believe it's temp underscore F. That is correct. Temp underscore F. Set another one. Let's do weather wind, which is going to be weather current dot set wind underscore miles per hour. Let's do another one for precipitation. Precip. That's going to be weather current dot rain underscore inch. Is that right? Oh, it's precip underscore inch. All right, so now that those variables are set, let's format the output of this bot to look a little nicer here. Current weather for weather city, comma, weather region, state actually, there we go. And then we'll do weather country, boom. Temperature, weather temp, wind, weather wind, and precipitation. Okay, let's give this a shot here and see what this looks like. And we can also add units here. So we can do, let's see, do I have an emoji for a degree sign? That's all right. Degrees, this is miles per hour, and this is inches. So that'll give us some units. Virginia Beach, Virginia. There we go. So this is formatted a little nicely. And current weather for Virginia Beach, Virginia, United States of America, temperature 61 degrees Fahrenheit, wind 5.6 miles per hour, precipitation 0.28. All right, the last thing I want to show you for this, because now you kind of get the gist, right? We have an API that is going to output a JSON object that has various name value pairs, and you have to parse through that to get what you want and then add it into your conversational design of your chatbot. I want to show you how to do an image real quick with this API because I think that it's kind of neat. So remember we have this nested key in here with condition, and the name value pairs here is text and icon. Okay, so how do I pull this image into our chatbot here? So I'm going to set 2 new additional variables here. I'm going to set weather condition text. We have weather current, but remember we have an additional key here, which is condition, and then it's going to be text. So that is how we get this partly cloudy text here. So I have response.current.condition.text in order to get this. It gets kind of tricky once you have a bunch of nested things, but that's why setting these variable names and understanding the JSON object is important when you're dealing with these APIs. And so the last one is going to be the same thing, but we're going to do an icon here. So I'm going to add, and this is going to be weather condition image, new variable. And this is going to be weather current. It's going to be dot condition dot, I believe it's img. It's icon. All right, let's see if this works. So this is, oh, I didn't even name these. I'm slipping. Oh, this is our API call block. This is our set variables for output. And this is the response to user on weather. All right, so I'm going to do one more, which is current condition, and then it's going to be weather condition text. This is going to pass into a new block here. If you look at the talk, we have an image card available here, and we can have a link here that says enter file URL or variable. Well, remember we set that image to a variable. So let's see if this works now. Virginia Beach, Virginia. Boom. So current condition, heavy rain, which is our text, and then it pulled our visual icon here. Let me show you this with another city to show you that it will show you a different piece of weather here. I'm going to make an assumption that it's not raining in Austin, Texas, but maybe I'm wrong. Boom, current condition, sunny. There we go. So this is dynamically pulling in an image from this API call. And then, of course, you can set the rest of this conversational design to iterate through different conversations and pull whatever additional information you want from this API. But I think you guys get the gist of it here, which this can now be uploaded embedded into your website, and you have a fully functioning weather bot that pulls weather from any location in the United States using this third-party API. Now this is a API GET request. Hope you found this video useful, and let me know your thoughts in the comments or anything else you guys would like to see. Thanks.